I have no idea what I hit.
You just the one on the right is all you have left. Got it. Number 3 on the. You got one more. Got it. This one over here, you just gotta shoot once on the move.
This is Richard with BWE Firearms, and in this video I'm going to talk about tuning a Uzi 22 long rifle submachine gun conversion kit. This kit was made by Subgun Ordnance. I believe he still has them in stock or is still making them. This is one of the BWE Firearms 22 long rifle magazines, and we're going to show you how to set up the kit and how to get it running right. This is also, if you'll notice, this steel weight in the top. I did my slow fire conversion on this. I mill out the top of the bolt and put this steel plate in to add some weight. That way it slows the kit down. Makes it much nicer to shoot in subgun matches. First thing to do, and especially if you have a used kit, this Sear plate here. This is your Sear surface. Make sure this plate is tight. Sometimes they loosen up, so you want to make sure it's tight, and then you want to check this edge and this edge, mostly this edge, to make sure there's no burrs on it. As long as you don't have any burrs on it, you're good to go. Okay, the other thing you want to do is make sure that this extractor fits tight. As they get older, they'll loosen up and you'll be able to wiggle this back and forth. You don't want that. You want this to hold a 22 round. Now, if it's loose, you can take it out and you can squeeze these together gently. You can do it a couple of times, and then what will happen is they will start to crack here. So you'll need to replace the extractor. Bowers has these extractors. They make these. So he's got plenty of them. They're the same extractors are used in the Uzi kit, the HK kit, probably a couple other kits. When you put the extractor in, one, you want to make sure the extractor edge, and I know it's hard to see because it's tiny, but you want to make sure that claw is sharp. And you want to take these edges, round these edges over on both legs. Now when this is in the gun, just so happens this side is shiny. Usually they're both blue like this, but this bottom edge, you want to, this slot here, you want to put a little chamfer there, and you want to put a little chamfer on the hook. So if here's your hook, you want to chamfer this edge and this edge a little bit. Just a little bit, just to break them. And I'll put this back in. If I can get it in the right way. And they just clip into place. You just spread it out a little bit and they clip into place. So, now that the extractor is taken care of, everything's tight, it's time to start fitting the bolt. What you want to do is, first you got to take the 9mm stuff out. Bolt in the recoil spring. Take the barrel out. Okay, 22 barrel goes in. Barrel nut goes back on. Keep that barrel in place. Now, what you're going to want to do is put the bolt in with no recoil spring. Put your top cover back on. Now what you want to do is you make sure you pull the trigger, because when you let go of the trigger, the sear goes up and it pushes the bolt up. You don't want that. You want it sitting on the bottom. Take some feeler gauges. Now you either take the grip off so the sear doesn't protrude up, or you need to hold the trigger in. Either one works. So you take some feeler gauges and you run them in here. That's a 10/1000 feeler gauge and it's snug. Goes in, but it's snug. I have this set for close to 5 thousandths, 0.005. And that's where you want it. You want it. You want the top cover on a 22 kit as tight as you can get it. 9mm kits, the spec is 0.005 to 0.015 of an inch. The 22 kits you want as tight as, you want as close as 0.005 as you can get without adding any drag. So we ran the feeler gauges. We know the top cover's set right. Now push in the grip safety, pull the trigger so the sear goes down. What you want to do is go like this. And the bolt should run back and forth without any drag. You don't want that drag on a 22 kit. 9mm, you can get away with it. 22 kits, you can't. You want as little drag as possible. So, now that you got those two things done, what you need to do is check the extractor height and make sure it is correct. And I shouldn't have put this barrel in because I need to take it out. So, you take some layout glue, dike them, and you dike them up the back of the barrel, this surface, and the extractor slots. Put the barrel back in. Tighten the barrel nut up, tighten, 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 tighten. Okay. Put your recoil spring on. Put your bolt in. Top cover back on. Go ahead, cycle that. Make sure there's no ammo in it. Take the barrel out. Look at where the extractors are hitting. You want them hitting right in the middle of that slot. Usually they don't. I found most of the kits in most of the guns, I have to add about a 10/1000 0.10, or excuse me, 0.010 inch thick spacer, shim, whatever you want to call it, under the bolt head to get it to align with the extractors properly and the cuts in the barrel. What I mean by shims, if you take these two screws out There's your bolt head. It is steel. The rest of the body is aluminum. And there's some of my shims, and there's another shim in there. And I've cut these. These are stainless steel shim stock. And I've cut them and punched holes in them so they fit right in like they should. And I've even cut this corner off so it doesn't hang out and catch the rounds. So you do that, you put your bolt back in, tighten these screws up, and the old, don't tighten it all the way until you get them both in. Then snug them down. If I can get the key in the hole, man, put a little hair around that so I can find it. So, your bolt is now shimmed to the proper height for where your barrel is sitting in the gun. So, if here is your extractor slot in the barrel, you want that extractor right in the middle. You don't want it up here, you don't want it down here, you sure don't want it hitting here or here. You want it right in the middle. And, you know, that's ideal. It could be a little higher, a little lower, but you want it pretty close to the middle. So you've got the extractor set, you've got the top cover set, you're all set to go there. The next thing is when you run this after you shim it, you want to run it, you know, a dozen times or something. Well, hell, take the damn barrel out again. Okay. On this feed ramp, right here, going into the chamber. Sometimes when you lower that bolt, the bolt head, the bolt will start nicking here. It did on this gun. And you can actually see there's a little mark right there where it's hitting. I don't know if you can see that little teeny shiny spot. But what you need to do is carefully relieve this. And I mean carefully, don't take off, you know, don't go at it with a 4-inch grinder or anything. Use a Dremel and a fine stone, small stone. Take it out just enough to clear. And then take some Kratex points, polish it up so it's nice and smooth. Polish this edge a little bit. Polish this edge of the chamber a little bit. All around the chamber. Just a little bit, just to break that edge. Make it smooth. Once you've got all that done, you're almost finished. Then it's time to set the magazine height. With the magazine, put it in the gun. Now, you can see the 9mm ejector right here. Right there, right there. You want that magazine to clear that ejector. And you don't want the rim of the rounds to get hung up under that ejector. If you have to shorten the front face of the ejector, this face here, that face, if you have to take that face and file it down a little bit so it clears the rims, that's okay. And I said a little bit. You don't need to take it back a ½ an inch. Just enough so the rims on the cases clear. Once you get that done, you want to check the height of your magazine. Now, when you put the magazine in the gun, those stops cannot be all the way up against the receiver, against the bottom of the grip. If they are, you won't be able to undo your latch, because when you push this latch in, that magazine goes up just a hair for this to clear. So you can't be all the way up. But with the magazine in the gun, you want it to be as high up as you can get it without it rubbing on top of the magazine. So you don't want it jammed. We're going to look at it upside down. So everybody turn upside down. You don't want it jammed all the way up against the top of the magazine. You want just a hair of clearance. As close as you can get it, that's what you want without it rubbing. You do that by taking a punch, and if you look down here, the magazine catch. One, take something and hold that magazine catch out. I've got an old chisel that I've ground that fits in here perfectly, and I can put some tension on it. Then I take a big punch, put it on that surface, that engagement surface. Tap it with a hammer. You can bend that. Don't try to go too aggressive, but bend it up until you get the right clearance and the right height. If you've got to bend it down, that's much easier, because you don't need to. When you're going this way, when you hit it, that magazine catch wants to do this, wants to go in. When you're going from the top, it doesn't go, it wants to go out, so it's stable. So you take a long punch, put it down through the mag well, tap it this way till you got your magazine height right. Then you're pretty much done. The only thing left is recoil spring. And of course, I don't know where the hell my recoil spring for this kit is. I usually stick it in the back of the bolt and just, have them like that. Well, I don't know where the damn thing went. I probably sold it. So I got to make another. But you want to take a 9mm recoil spring. Count 100 coils. And cut it at 100 coils. And then either take this piece off, if you take the rod apart, or you can very carefully with a cutoff wheel, take these and cut them, and they'll separate and you can bend them off the rod. But start with 100 coils, especially with my slow fire kit. And you can adjust from there. If you want to go 102, 103 coils and start from there. They're always ammo sensitive. You got to kind of find the ammo that works the best. All this tuning, except for the number of coils, is ammo independent. It doesn't matter what kind of ammo you use. Once you start cutting coils, that's when you need to figure out what ammo it works best with. So cut it, 100, 102, 105 coils. Try a couple of different ammos. I know the one guy has really good luck with the Winchester. Is it M22, that black box stuff? I've had fairly good luck with the Federal bulk pack, the 525 bulk packs. The funny thing is the Federal Auto Match, not so much. The bulk pack works better than the auto match does. Do not, under any circumstances, use that Winchester 525 bulk pack. It is very thin brass, and it ruptures cases. And you start rupturing cases, and you blow out your extractor, and then you got to get a new extractor and fit it, and it's a pain in the ass. So don't use that stuff. Use the Federal. Use some of the people have had decent luck with the Remington. And I, of course, CCI, you can go with that stuff. But you figure out which ammo you like, which runs the best, then you can start tuning your spring. If the bolt doesn't come back far enough, take off another coil or half a coil, usually by the coil. And just keep going until you get it where the gun runs. And you can take your finger off the trigger and it stops running. That's important. You don't want it to run on. It's not like there's a whole lot of recoil, but it is what it is. So that is, do I have anything else? The only other thing is, remember, 22 is dirty as shit. So clean your gun, clean the kits, take your magazines apart, clean the magazines. Okay, there's a couple of things I forgot to mention with the 22 kits. The 22 kit does not use the 9mm ejector in any way. So don't think it does. The brown doesn't hit it, nothing. The ejector in the 22 kit is right here. It's built right into the lips of the magazine. Now, when you take the magazine out of the gun, you no longer have an ejector in the gun. So that's just something to keep in mind. You try to eject around with no magazine in the gun, and it's just going to look at you stupid. Maybe the 9mm ejector will kick it out. I wouldn't hold my breath on that. That little corner is the ejector. Now, the other thing is, if you have a loaded round that went into the chamber and did not go off, don't cock your bolt handle real hard. Because these are rimfire rounds. And sometimes, if you do it just right, you rack it back hard enough, the rim can hit this ejector and go off without being in the chamber at all. And that does bad things to everything. So just be mindful of that and know, okay, I'm not going to rack it back. I'm going to, you can go somewhat hard, but, don't go super beast mode on it. The other thing I didn't talk about is when you cut the recoil spring. Cut the coils off this end that's up against the buffer. Don't cut them off this end, because if you cut them off this end, the opened end of the spring will unwind over the little washer and it'll jam everything up. Put the cut end back here against the buffer. That way, the closed end is up here, keeps everything nice and pretty. Clear plastic Uzi magazines. They're straight and then they curve. They're not very good magazines. They never worked right. They're good for like 20 rounds, but you get more than 20 rounds and you start to have jamming issues. If you can find them, get the BWE 22 mags. They're not cheap. If you can get the good Vector mags, get those. I have not made these mags in a couple of years because I made a shit ton of them, and then the market kind of dried up, and I'm not going to make another run of 500 mags if it's going to take me 20 years to sell 500 mags. But I'm looking into some other things, maybe 3D printing the inserts or something. I don't know yet. You can always drop me an email and ask me about mags. But these are, the BWE mags are definitely the most reliable, the best mags for the 22 kits. If you have any questions, leave questions in the comments. But that's how you tune a 22 kit in an Uzi. I have this all written out on Uzi Talk. If you go onto my my page on Uzi Talk, I've got a section on Uzi Talk, BWE Firearms section. You can go there. It's pinned at the top. I think it's the top one on how to tune these kits, and you can ask questions there. And this was done. K2 and I spent about 2 or 3 years working on this. And working on the magazines, getting everything perfected, figuring everything out, and we got these guns, so they're running almost 100%. 22 kits never run 100%, but they're pretty damn close. This is Richard with BWE Firearms, and I hope you like and enjoyed this video and learned something along the way. With this year, 2021, with me getting stage 4 colon cancer, diabetes, and neuropathy in my hands and feet, it's getting harder and harder to work. And I have come to realize my own mortality. Because of that, I realized that if I don't get this information out of my head and into videos or into other people's heads, I will take it to the grave with me, and that does nobody any good at all. If you would, please like, share, subscribe, and comment to the video. It helps me with the algorithms. And if you would like to support my efforts in doing these videos, please go to my website, bwefirearms.com, and in my shopping cart, I have an item in there where you can donate money to my efforts. And 97% of the money will go directly to me doing these videos. 3%, of course, will go to the credit card company. I will, take $1. I will take $1,000. Whatever you feel like donating, I would greatly appreciate it, and it will help me get this stuff done. You have a nice day, and we will see you in the next video.